Hi everybody and welcome back to SinoActive's channel. Today we are going to point out the main points you need to know about opening a business in China. First of all, why you will need a company in China? Well, China's consumer market is the biggest worldwide and it's still growing fast. Almost all the big foreign companies have their own Chinese company or Chinese branch office here, as it can be more convenient for them to develop and operate their business here in this huge market. Also, having an office in China from some certain point of view can also give a stronger sense of trust to your brand. Furthermore, it can be used as an East Asian base, since China is well connected with many countries in the Far East. As for the costs, interestingly, the tax burden will be lighter than you may expect. Most probably, your country's taxation is not as relaxed. Yes, indeed, China may not be a tax haven, but it is convenient for investment. For the smaller businesses, there is a tax advantage under 5 million RMB of income every 12 months. Warning, I said 12 months. For example, if from July 2020 to July 2021 you'll get an income of 6 million RMB, even if in 2020 as a year you kept under 5 million of income, you won't get the advantages anyway. What advantages? Well, first of all, your tax rate will be low, normally 3% VAT for both products and services, while a normal taxpayer will have a range from 6 to 13% VAT. And an income tax will be added to that, of course, for a LLC should be about 20% for a small-scale taxpayer, while 25% for everybody else. Those advantages come with a price. Small-scale taxpayers cannot use their paid invoices to ask for a tax deduction since the rate is already so low. So, to make it simple, I like to think of small-scale taxpayers as a way to give new entrepreneurs a head start. Since they won't have too much accounting work to do, they can focus on making their business work. And once they will get to the size of a normal taxpayer, they probably will have maturated the experience and the knowledge to handle accounting through their own team or a trustable consultant if they will really need it. That's already better than what you get in many other countries. Furthermore, VAT was already lowered several times in the past years. In just the last two, it went down by 4%. That even companies with bigger economic potential have really no reason to ignore China. But still, some businessmen will feel it's dangerous to invest in China due to its form of government, and some are afraid that their money may be blocked here. We can confirm there is no problem for you to transfer the profit outside as long as, of course, you have paid all your taxes first. So let's get to the second part, the steps you will need to fulfill before you open a new company. Registering a company in China is actually quite easy. The paperwork has been reduced and the rest of the material can be provided online. In big cities, the procedure is also very fast and in 2 weeks your company can be opened. You will need another 2 weeks to open the bank account for your new company, as well as opening the account in the tax department, and you will need to be in China for opening the bank account at least. So while technically you could open a company in China without being here, to make it able to send or receive money, you will need to come to China as you must register your bank account here. The costs are almost zero unless of course you're asking an agency to take care of them. In that case you receive some help for the paperwork, which can be convenient, but make sure you get a fair price. The price range goes from 3,000 to 8,000 RMB according also to the specific needs of your company and the type of business you're going to register. So let's sum it up. Those that follow are the steps you exactly need to open your company in China. First, ensure that your business scope is okay. The activities that your business is going to do, namely your business scope, of course should not be prohibited by Chinese law. Furthermore, some fields may have restrictions, which doesn't mean prohibited, just limited in some aspects, and those limitations can vary a lot. And there can be also a complete ban for foreign companies. So those fields and those restrictions need to be checked and they can change every year. Generally, the restrictions are on extremely specific businesses such as weapon production or other national security matters. And also the free trade zone, also called the FTZ, established in different cities all over China, can have less strict rules for specific businesses. And since each free trade zone, even within the same area, may have different scope, You should expect to find different opportunities in different free trade zones, and in general, you have much more chance to not be restricted or not be as restricted inside a free trade zone when compared with outside the trade zone. Although this point is just for few people, we prefer to be thorough in our explanation, and once you ensure that your business scope is alright, you must write it down, making like a short description of what work you will do. If you're not sure, better to list more than less things, since if you want to expand your business scope later on, you will need to do other paperwork and it takes time as well. Some business scopes will have some specific requirements. For example, if you want to do import and export of food and beverages, you will need a physical store of a certain size. Point number 2, you need to make sure about the company type you want to establish. Generally, the options are wholly foreign-owned enterprise, WFOE, Sino-foreign joint venture, Sino-foreign cooperative enterprise, or representative office of a foreign enterprise, something like a branch office. The pros and cons for each option are to be weighed by each entrepreneur directly. A WFOE is convenient if you do not have a Chinese partner you can seriously trust with partial ownership of your company. The ownership of the company, speaking of that, can be either for a person or more persons, so individuals, or owned by an already existing company, even a foreign company, so you can have your Chinese company be owned by your current business in another country, for example. The third point is, according to the business location and your business scope, you can get huge advantages in taxation and incentives by registering your company in a specific city and even a specific area of that same city. For business such as import and entrepot trade, for example, you can use the free trade zone's bonded area to keep your products in storage without paying import taxes until you will sell, of course, the product in China. Then you will pay the taxes for the quantity you will need to sell while keeping the rest in storage, still tax-free. Of course, you can also ship them to another country and just use your storage in the bonded area as a temporary tax-free storage for your East Asia business in general. A more general example for doing business in China will imply that you will need an address in a prestigious location, something like an office in Lujiazui, in the city center of Shanghai. But to maximize the efficiency of your budget, you can register the company in an underdeveloped area, such as, always in Shanghai, in Chongming district, with a registered address there, which will get you very good tax incentives, avoiding the issue that Chongming is an island, more than 100 kilometers far away from the center. So it's not really a convenient location for the majority of the business. But in this way, you can have a convenient office address and a good list of incentives for establishing a business in an underdeveloped district. The fourth point is to set the registered capital for your company. This is also called the legal capital. It is the sum of all the money put by the shareholders and promoters when the company is founded. And even if since 2013 China lets companies put as little as 1 renminbi as registered capital, it theoretically should be higher because it's the symbol of the amount of budget you can afford to put in case you do somebody else wrong. You'll understand that nobody will trust somebody with a legal capital of 1 renminbi because they know that if worst comes to worst, that's the amount of money they can get back. So since this information is available online and it's totally transparent, do not worry if you do not want to put the amount immediately, but put a reasonable amount. You can actually set the amount of time you will need to deposit the capital, and often most people will put 20 years. Even if your company will close before these 20 years, what you're going to pay is just the 0.05% of the registered capital as a stamp duty. For example, let's say that your legal capital is 1 million renminbi, then you will need to pay 500 renminbi when you close your company, which is very low. The fifth point is get your name right. If you want to register a company in China, your company will only have one legally valid name, which is in Chinese characters. It is important that the name of your company will have a good meaning in Chinese, or at least not a bad one, and ideally it should be linked to the fields that you're working in. Since in China it is very easy for almost anybody to have their own company, there are hundreds of millions, and it is very likely that the name you want has already been taken or there is another name with the same pronunciation. We advise you to not mind too much about this. Get instead a good brand name and register it to your company so that you can use it like it's your company name. except of course on legal documents, and the name always includes 4 parts. First, the city where you register, for example, Shanghai. Second, the name you want to give to your company. Third, the type of business you do, for example, consulting or trade. D, the kind of company you have, for example, LLC or limited or center. So as you can see, basically your efforts are mostly in point B. The rest won't leave you too much choice once you set up the previous points. So to our customers, we always suggest get at least 10 backup choices because probably the first one won't be available. Our advice for the name is keep it short and simple, most importantly. If you want to make the pronunciation of your brand in Chinese, for example, it's much more likely to be a mouthful. In our case, SinoActive was too long and we chose to shorten it into 3 characters, Xinwo O, where Xinwo is connected to Sino, the same pronunciation, and O is the first character for Ozhou, Europe. So we lost the active, but it still more or less conveys at least part of the meaning of what we do, so it's not that bad. Make sure that your pronunciation is not unlucky is the second point. Many Chinese won't like a company which has part of its name sounding like si, death. For example, this is one point, so you need to steer away from this character and avoid the pronunciation which is very similar to that if you can. The third point is, to be honest, also very important. You need to take it easy. It's not really a big deal if you get a longer name that you wanted or one that is not so specific. Most will not care about your Chinese business name because you have your own brand and you can use that. And especially because you're a foreigner, people really will not mind about if your name is has this meaning or that meaning. Really, do not worry, take it easy. Sixth point, find a good accountant. That's not hard, but it is necessary. If you have a company in China, you must have a Chinese certified accountant who can take care of the financial and tax for you. For smaller companies, most will outsource this. You can find lots of firms, often your lawyer studio in China will also offer it or have a partner to suggest you and vice versa. The cheapest can get to even 500 yuan per month if there is not too much work to do. Considering the importance of this part, I strongly suggest to know more about your future accountant and make sure that their certificate is all right before you give your company in their hands. Of course, you may want to get one who can speak good English and has experience in working with foreigners. Price in that case will be higher, but you will surely have a better understanding of what is going on. So for today, this is it. We are planning to prepare a more detailed video to explain how to handle each step by yourself in different scenarios. So do not worry, we will provide more information soon. Stay tuned and see you next time. Bye bye.